Welcome back to the second tutorial where we attempt to rebuild the adventure that came in the PAWS manual, adventure called The Ticket. This time we're going to be looking at objects. I think objects is where DAAD Builder really does help quite a bit. In the DSF file you had to scroll up and down quite a bit to add in your objects, add in your vocabulary for the objects, add in the attributes for the objects. In PAWS also you had to jump in and out of various menus to be able to add those features as well, whereas we can do all of that in one place. So objects in a PAWS game or a DAAD game, as it says, anything that the player can manipulate within the game. For example, an apple they can eat, a key they can use to unlock a door, or a rucksack that can contain the key and the apple. We're going to create a couple of those objects in this tutorial. If we look at the list of objects we have here, we have a lit torch, a bag, a sandwich, an apple, a ticket, a lead, an anorak, and an unlit torch. The lit torch always comes as default in the templates. We're going to add the unlit torch, which will later on give you the ability to turn that torch on and off. We have a list of locations for those objects, and we also have some attributes of their weights. So let's jump in and start creating those objects. Object 0 we already have. It's going to be not created. By default it's carried. So if we just go into object 0, we'll change the location to not created, and we're going to name that torch. In fact, we're going to name that lit torch because it's going to be a different torch to the unlit torch. Use that as define. We're going to leave the word torch. It's an item. That's fine. Next we want a bag. The bag is going to be at location 2 at the bus stop. So we want bag. I'm going to use that as a define. It's going to be a bag for the OTX section and a noun of bag. This time round it's a container, so we're going to add that, and then we're now going to go in and set the weight of that, so it's weight 3, and that's our bag done. Next we have a sandwich, object 2. This is being carried by the player, so we go to the carried section, sandwich, going to use that as a define. In the OTX section we're going to put a sandwich, give it a noun. It's not container, it's not wearable, we can add that. So the next one up is the apple. This is also being carried by the player. Add the apple. Next one down is the ticket. The ticket starts off up the tree in location 8. Use it to define. It's going to be a ticket and a noun of ticket. Add. So we then have a lead which is on the grass in location 3. Define a lead, add. Next we have the anorak which the player is wearing. This time it's a wearable item, and we need to change the weight of that to be 3. And finally we have object 7, which is the unlit torch, and we're going to be carrying that one. And we also need adjective for this one to say it's the unlit torch. Add, and did we have an adjective on the first one to say it was a lit torch? No, that also needs an adjective to say it's a lit torch. Okay, so that actually takes us through all of these sections. And it's time to play the game again. In this section in the manual, it shows you how you can access flags in PAWS. We can do something very similar here. So if we go to Test Adventure, press any key to continue, and if we go to the debug menu, first of all we can see our rooms. We can see what items are in those rooms. We can see our objects, and we can see where those objects are located. If we have extra attributes set, we'd be able to see those as well. And we get to see our flags in the game. By default, it just shows us the flags that have a value assigned to them. If we uncheck that button, we can look at all the flags in the game. Continue. So the next section is talking about scenery items in the game. So at the very first location at the bus stop, we're told there's a park gate set in iron railings which stands open. But if we try to get the gate, we're told there isn't one here. Well, there clearly is, because we've just been told in the description there's a gate here. What we should be told is that we can't get the gate. To do that, we need to go back to create some scenery items. Let's do that in the visual editor this time. So location 2, at the bus stop, we're going to add an object. This time we want to make it a scenery object. We're going to give it a name of gate, a noun of gate. Now, because it is assigned a noun, the game will recognize that the noun exists. So it won't come with that message of there isn't one here. It will come with a message of saying you're not able to get the gate. And we're going to give it a message that if someone examines it, it's a gate made of iron bars, just like the railings. Confirm. Location 2, we're going to add another object because there's also the railings there that somebody may also want to try and get. We're going to set that to be a scenery item and give it a name of railings. Give it an examine message, because equally if we examine it, we don't want to be told we can't examine the railings. Location 3, we're told there is some grass. Let's add some grass in case we want to examine the grass. It's a scenery item and the grass is green and neatly trimmed. So number 4, we're told there's a path and we're also told that there's a bench here. So we want to add an object which is going to be a scenery object of path. And we're going to give that a description. Next we want another object which is our bench. Confirm. We have a pond. Then we have a bandstand. The bandstand piece of scenery, Paul says you should be able to access that by talking about bandstand or talking about iron, which is also in the description. So it's going to have another pseudonym for bandstand. We can't do that in the editor, we'll have to do it through the vocabulary editor. Let's start off with bandstand. I'm going to give that bandstand and tell people that it looks like a bandstand. Confirm. And we have one more at location 7, which is the tree. We probably also should put one at location 8 when we're up the tree. I think it says we're up the tree, broadleaf tree, parks of on a branch. So we probably need to add the branch. We probably could also add more things here about the railings and everything else. We're not going to go that far today. Objects. Let's add an object of the tree. It's a scenery item, tree, and we're going to say it's an ancient oak tree. Put that in there, confirm. Then up the tree we're going to add a scenery item of branch. So let's just give that a description, confirm, and we're going to add leaves in here as well. In case someone wishes to examine the leaves. Confirm, right, okay, so that's given us scenery items. Go back to test the game again now. Let's see what happens when we try to get the gate. Still says there isn't one here. What's happened there is the vocabulary hasn't entered the vocabulary section. So if we go to sync objects now, it'll add all those scenery words into our vocabulary list. While we're in the vocabulary list, we can also give that pseudonym for bandstand. So it was a noun and it's 113. So we're going to add a word. It's already set on noun because that's the section we got selected. I want to make that 113 and we're going to put in iron and add word. Now let's go back to test the adventure again. Let's go and try to get the gate. This time we're told we can't do that. Can we examine the gate? We can examine the gate. Try to get the railings. Can't do that. But we can examine the railings. So that's that for this section. The next section is going to talk about processes. So it's going to go into sections of if we want to examine the objects we've created. Normally you'd have to set up a process to do that. We've already seen that this takes place automatically in DAAD Builder, but we'll examine that more in the next section. So I will see you then.